Hello and welcome to Galahad Reviews. I'm Galahad and today I will be reviewing the Dell Inspiron 7405 2-in-1 laptop. The specific model number is P126G001. I did receive this laptop for free through Best Buy's Tech Insider program in exchange for a written review, but I decided out of my own volition to also do a video review. Me getting this product for free will not bias my opinion in any way, shape, or form. My opinions are my own, and giving a positive review does not benefit me in any way, shape, or form, whereas telling the truth about a product does. This is a long review because if you are going to be dropping $900 on something, especially something that you can't change and you'll be using for years, you will want to make sure that it is worth it. So I'll be going through everything, specifically looking at 5 main components, which are screen quality, touchpad quality, keyboard quality, battery life, and performance. As if it doesn't nail all 5 of these, it's not worth buying. So does this guy make the cut? Let's find out. Starting off with the software, when I first bought this computer, I do what I always do, which is install a fresh install of Windows to get rid of any of the bloatware that comes with the computer. Relatively speaking, the bloatware that was installed on this machine is minimal, but I did notice an improvement in speeds after I removed it all. It comes with a cheaper but still solid Gen 3 M.2 512GB SSD. Speeds for my testing are on the screen right now, which for an M.2 drive is relatively slow, especially in comparison to Gen 4 speeds, but compared to normal SSDs, it is significantly faster, as those max out at about 500 megabytes per second. Out of 512 gigabytes, only 460 gigabytes could be used. Once you boot it up for the first time, you'll be left with 410 gigabytes of space, and after I installed a fresh install of Windows 10 and it installed drivers, Microsoft 365, Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and security, I was also at 410 gigabytes. Interestingly enough, if you shut down the computer and then you open the screen, it will automatically turn on the computer, in which the boot time was extremely fast at about 3 to 5 seconds, compared to about 10 seconds if you hit the restart. It comes with a Windows Hello fingerprint reader, which worked well and is built into the power button. It does not support Windows Hello via webcam, but it does have a small shutter that can cover the webcam, which is much appreciated. The webcam is 720p, which isn't great, and it is located on the top of the screen, which is good for you users who do occasional Skype calls or similar. Moving on to build quality and aesthetics, the overall finish for this laptop is premium and it looks professional. The chassis is complete metal with an attractive dark color that they report is Sandstorm. I'm a male, which means I'm challenged color-wise and can usually only stick to colors of the rainbow and manly colors such as sand. So reading the color Sandstorm made me expect more of a sand color, which is tan, but instead it comes across as more of a dark gray. It also has attractive sharp edges that are rounded but still come across as sharp to the touch, which makes it very manly for you manly men out there. Chest bump, bro fist, manly headbutt. No matter where I pick it up from, it doesn't flex, unlike my biceps, as with it being fully constructed out of metal, it comes in at about 3.5 pounds. And for my SpongeBob arms, I almost buckle under it. There are little bits of rubber spread out across the edges of the device and on the hinge to help prevent metal on metal action. The build quality is excellent to the point that you could probably defend yourself by hitting your attacker over the head and then getting back to watching anime as if nothing happened. Moving on to the keyboard feels excellent. There is a small amount of travel with a crisp bump at the end and what I would consider heavy actuation, as I'm used to about 45 to 50 grams of actuation, but this feels closer to 60. But that is purely guesswork. I scored 113 words per minute on a typing test, which is average for me, which means you can definitely blaze on this guy. It has white backlighting, which you can adjust to either be 100%, 50%, or 0%. It shows both primary and secondary characters, and the light is equal throughout with attractive, easy to read font. The keys are also spread out equally. No complaints here whatsoever. Moving on to the touchpad overall is great. It comes in at about 4.5 inches in width and almost 3 inches in height, so it's quite large. Unlike my pinky finger, guys, come on! There's no button to disable it. It is quite easy to slide your finger across the pad and be highly accurate with it. Gestures and scrolling are very responsive. However, my biggest complaint is that it does not have equal pressure throughout for the clicks. Starting with the bottom left and right, it requires mild to moderate pressure, with it being more on the moderate side. On the bottom middle, it requires moderate pressure. On the middle left and right, it requires moderate/severe pressure. The top, middle, left, and right are impossible to click. It is also made out of plastic, plastic instead of glass, which is what takes this touchpad from going from excellent to just great. So let's get nerdy. Moving on to performance, this machine comes with the Ryzen 4700U, which comes with 8 cores and 8 hyperthreads. It does not support simultaneous multi-threading SMT and can only execute 1 thread per core. There are 2 higher-end processors on the Ryzen line, which are the 4800U and the 4900H, which are going to be quite a bit more powerful depending on the variation you get. This processor comes with a base clock of 2.0 GHz and can boost to 4.1 GHz. CPU mark was 13,930 compared to 17,480 with the 4800U and 20,587 with the 4900H. This beat both the Intel i7 9750H at 11,442 and the Intel i7 10750H at 12,811, as AMD has been killing it lately. Single core rating between all of them, including Intel's, are close, with a maximum difference being less than 175 points. Max TDP is 15 watts, which is great. Overall, this processor comes in at middle of the line and is perfect for most users, as it balances raw performance with power efficiency. It will be able to perform everyday tasks for most people without any problems whatsoever. It will also handle light video editing and gaming. I was able to have multiple tabs up playing multiple YouTube videos while playing music with multiple programs open at the same time without any issues whatsoever and no slowdowns. I would not recommend going lower than this unless you are buying it for your grandma or only to do single tasks at a time. But if you are wanting to do more demanding tasks, I would upgrade to the 4800U, keeping the 4900H for your power users who are wanting to game at high frames, stream and edit 4K videos on their machine, as this will make the price go dramatically up and the battery life go down. It also comes with integrated AMD Radeon RX Vega 7 graphics, which is not very powerful, but it does its job just fine for everyday usage, such as watching videos and playing simple games. It works on a 4K monitor at 30 Hz, but comes in at 8-bit instead of 10-bit. As for a 1440p monitor, it can only get to 60 Hz and is also at 8-bit, and for a 1080p screen, you are able to get 120 Hz at 8-bit, and this is all through HDMI, and these are all confirmed as I tested them personally on this device. But it is not made for gaming, as new AAA games, even with settings on low with resolution set to 1280 by 720p, will net you 30 frames per second max. Add that to a 60 Hz IPS panel and you get a poor overall gaming experience, along with putting serious wear and tear on your laptop, as it isn't equipped to cool effectively at that level. Last, it comes with a cheaper single 16GB SO-DIMM DDR4 3200 MHz of RAM. This can be upgraded to 32GB if you are comfortable opening the system and installing it yourself. Moving on to the screen, I find the screen on this guy to be quite the conundrum. It comes with a 1920 by 1080p screen. I had the zoom set to 125%, as 150%, which is what they recommended, was just simply too much, and 100% made me lean in a bit too close with poor posture while using it. It is a 6-bit panel in comparison to an 8-bit panel with or without dithering, or even a 10-bit panel for 4K. I didn't even know that they actually made 6-bit panels anymore, which was surprising to me, which means that you do not get the best contrast. I think I was able to get about 600 in comparison to 1000, and the sRGB coverage was 52%, Adobe RGB was 44%, DCI P3 41%, and BT2100 came in at 30% with a max brightness of 250 lumens. Gamma was 1.4 instead of 2.2, which honestly is terrible in comparison to today's standards, spec-wise. However, do not let that detract you from looking at this laptop, as that does not translate at all to what you're actually seeing, as it looks absolutely fantastic. Blacks are black, grays are gray, and colors are accurate despite lacking depth, to the point where most users will not notice this is a low-bit panel. Viewing angles were good and text was almost always crisp and clear. When I went through my usual testing for contrast, I was able to see all boxes for black easily, which rarely happens for just monitors in general, but specifically rare for laptop screens. For whites, I was able to see everything except the last line, where I can usually see 2 out of 4 boxes. There was no color banding, and color grades were accurate, but once again lacked full color depth due to it being a 6-bit panel, which means it performed excellently, as most laptop displays have poor viewing angles, terrible color accuracy, terrible contrast, and terrible banding. So with it being a 6-bit panel, I would give it a 10 out of 10. When competing against other 8-bit panels, I would give it an 8 out of 10, with the only thing removing 2 points would be lacking contrast, as it would need to be closer to 1000, and color depth needing to be higher at around 100% for the sRGB. This is a very long paragraph just to say that the screen is excellent and a major player on why you aren't paying greater than $1,200 for this laptop. I wanted to spend a lot of time on this though, because to me, the screen is almost the most important part of a computer, because if it sucks, you won't want to use it, like my previous laptop that I owned for 8 years before getting this. Moving on to the battery life, there are 5 things that destroy battery level. Up first is brightness. With 500 to 1000 nits destroying it, which is why when you put your phone brightness to 100%, it chews through battery. Second is GPU power. Processors with more cores and more hyperthreads will use more energy. Current gen CPUs for Ryzen is the 4000 series for laptops. So for example, this comes with the 4700U. Last generation would have been the 3700U. As the numbers go up, so does the energy usage. So 4700U is weaker than the 4800U, which is weaker than the 4900H. In regards to Intel, they are on the 10000 series, which means that the 10750H is the current gen, with 9750H being the old gen. Same goes for these processors, as the higher number, the more energy it uses and the more powerful it gets. Third is GPU power, which is the same as the CPU, but instead refers to video performance, as higher end GPUs can handle more screens at higher refresh rates, which uses more energy. It also allows you to get higher frames in video games. This comes with the Radeon Vega 7, which is less powerful than the Vega 8, which is less powerful than the Vega 9. As for NVIDIA, their direct competition, it would be the 2060, then the 2070, and their top of the line would be the 2080. If you want the best battery life for your laptop, you want to make sure that you are buying integrated graphics, which do all of the basic things that you needed to do without taking a whole lot of power. If you want to game and do heavy video editing, then you want dedicated graphics, which adds a separate GPU to your computer to handle those heavier loads. With dedicated graphics being more powerful, it uses more energy, reducing the overall battery life. Up fourth is the screen size, with screens that are smaller being better for battery life. So a 13-inch screen will use less energy than a 14-inch screen, and so on. Are we seeing a theme here? Yes, we are. Up fifth is resolution. As the more pixels you have, the more energy it uses. So 8K will use more than 4K, which will use more than 1080p, which will use more than 720p. So let's put this all together, shall we? This PC comes with 250 nits of maximum brightness, with a middle-of-the-road processor with integrated graphics at 14 inches at 1080p. Therefore, I was expecting to get fantastic battery life. From my testing, I was able to get 7.5 hours before I hit the 6% battery life, and it told me to plug in. This was with the screen set to 50%, the backlight keyboard set to 50%, and the processor set to 75 out of 100%. For the first 4 to 5 hours, I watched YouTube videos at 1080p with Bluetooth headphones connected. After that, I worked on normal everyday tasks while listening to music. During this time, I had multiple tabs open with Outlook going in the background while I was typing a document. I was hoping to get closer to 10 hours, but for what I was doing, I think getting 7.5 hours is still particularly good. With a few tweaks, I believe I could have gotten 10 hours out of it, which means that this will last you all day long, especially if you do a quick recharge during lunch. So moving on to the pros, the touchpad gets 90% of it right. I would have preferred glass and would have preferred light actuation with equal pressure throughout, but for what you get, it's still very good. The keyboard feels great to type on, and it has equal spacing throughout, and you can blaze on it. The screen is extremely nice for being a 6-bit IPS display, even beating most other laptop displays that come with higher bitrate. Processor has plenty of power without destroying battery life. Battery life is 7.5 hours with moderate use. I would have preferred it being closer to 10, which I could get by being more conservative. Build quality and aesthetics are premium, excellent price for what you get. When you press the FN key and the escape key at the same time, it will then lock the FN key, which means you no longer have to hold the FN key and press your secondary characters, such as volume up or volume down at the same time. You can just do it with one press, which is very nice. Cooling is good and vents out the back. The device rarely got warm. When it did, it was in the middle of the device on both the top and the bottom. The only time it got hot was when doing heavy workloads with settings turned up. Fan is excellent. It is quiet most of the time. The loudest it got was when I was setting it up or when I had the screen and processor set to 100%, but even then it wasn't too distracting. It has two 3.2 USB slots along with a single USB-C slot, along with full-size HDMI and aux port. Touchscreen is very responsive, but it still is not quite as responsive as a tablet or cell phone device. The screen requires a moderate amount of pressure to move and sticks to where you place it. Hinges appear sturdy to last the long haul. The webcam has a built-in slider so you don't get spied on and comes in at 720p, which isn't super great, but I would prefer to save money on getting a cheaper webcam, and if I need a higher end webcam, just buying that separately, as the one that I would buy separately is going to give me way better quality than the one that was built in anyways. Wow, that turned into a rant. It comes installed with top-of-the-line wireless Wi-Fi 6 802.11ax. My testing showed 280 down with 30 up, with my speeds being rated at 300 down and 30 up, and I was on the 5 GHz band. Moving on to the cons, the delete key is right next to the power button. Luckily, the power button requires a lot more force to actuate than the delete key, which means I did not constantly put my computer to sleep, but could see this being a problem for others. The page down and arrow keys are small along with the /, which can bother some users. However, the main keys that most people use on a regular basis are full size, which improves overall typing for most users, and I would much prefer that trade personally. The touchpad doesn't have equal pressure throughout and requires a lot of force to click. Would prefer this to be light actuation and equal throughout. Otherwise, it does a good job. It has 2 down-firing speakers located closest to your person, which sound relatively good for what they are and the price point of this laptop, but you'll want to use headphones for the best quality, in which case it supports Bluetooth or has a 3.5mm aux out port. With it coming with 250 nits maximum brightness, this laptop will struggle in extremely bright rooms and outdoor use. Add that to the shiny screen, and it just does not combine well. However, makes the screen look so much better, so I enjoy that trade, but I would have preferred this laptop to get a lot brighter. The secondary keys only support play/pause and not forward/backward. Using it in tablet mode wasn't the best experience, as it is heavy as tablets go, as an iPad is, like less than a pound. This is 3.5 pounds. And I also noticed a reduction in overall responsiveness. So moving on to the conclusion, as I mentioned at the beginning of my review, a good laptop scores well in the following categories. First, screen quality. Second, touchpad quality. Third, keyboard quality. Fourth, battery life. And fifth, performance. Those are in no particular order. If one of those is missing, it's a pass for me. I am happy to say that this laptop does great in all 5 of those categories. You are getting top-of-the-line specs with a Ryzen 4700U, 512GB of M.2 SSD, and a 16GB DDR4 3200 MHz of RAM with a full metal body and great battery life. As by using budget parts and therefore sacrificing just a little bit of performance, you are able to get an excellent laptop for less than $1,000. The screen quality, despite being a 6-bit IPS panel, is fantastic. The touchpad is accurate and easy to use despite not having equal pressure throughout. The keyboard is a joy to use. The battery life with moderate use came in at 7.5 hours, and last, it will be hard to find a better processor at this price, as this guy beats out the Intel 10750H, which ships on almost all of their gaming laptops. However, the integrated graphics does not perform well enough for gaming, and the chassis is not equipped to cool for gaming. So, do I recommend this product or not? The answer is yes, as long as you don't plan to game or do serious video editing on it, as a significantly more expensive laptop may get you a slightly better screen. This is a big maybe, once again, because most laptop screens are trash, and it may give you a better processor, and last, a big boost in graphics power, but other than that, it will likely be a wash and cost you significantly more. So that is the end of this review. There are no affiliate links. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a dislike, and of course, if you've been following my content for a while or want to see more like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications. If you want to support this channel further, make sure to share this video with people who will find it beneficial. I will see you and your beautiful face on the next one. God bless and peace out.